Hey news people, I wanted to go over a tab system which I built for the Builder Yeen world here. In the Builder Yeen world you can make your own avatar by changing up the various options here, but I was running out of space in this section here to manage the settings. So the team added dynamic bones, that required more UI, the team added some components to do with automatic blinking as well as gestures and shape keys and stuff, so I needed another panel. This emote one isn't fully fleshed out, but I made this really quick and then I realized I needed more tabs and I wanted to make a more generic system. After a little bit of discussion with Fruix, I found a couple of components that make this work, and as a behind the scenes video I wanted to go over how this works, and then you can find it in my public folder. Once I've cleaned it up, I've got to remove all the stuff here from it. So on the left here I have a inspector open with the root of the tab system. And so if I turn off the tab system's active, you can see what's included and what's not. So everything in that area is included in this tab system. In the tab bar component, you'll see a root item. This contains my favorite component, which is the AxisAligner. And this ensures that each item is aligned in a straight line and next to each other. If you wanted separation, you can choose to use the separation field there. Check out the tutorial on AxisAligner if you'd like to know more. I use it, as you can now see, everywhere. Each item is then a couple of bits and bobs. It's a little bit complicated, but I'll explain it. So we have here what's called a TouchValueOption. Fruix told me about this component. I think Leon found it a couple of weeks ago and was like, what is this? What does it do? How could I use it? Turns out this is how you can use it. It's super cool for making your own UI. The TouchValueOption allows you to create a component, an item in the world, which when touched will set another value to a value specified here. So in this case, we are setting the value of a BooleanSwitcher. More on that later. But when I click body parts here, the thing I understand is that it will send value 0 to the target field here, which is our BooleanSwitcher. So if we now go to the BooleanSwitcher, which is in the tab section, you'll see the BooleanSwitcher here has the active index. It's writing to this active index. And if you know from the BooleanSwitcher video, the active index will turn on the item here, which matches the active index here. So if this value is 1, then dynamic bones would be on. If this value is 2, then emotes would be on. So if I switch to dynamic bones, you'll see that the body part section has disappeared. The dynamic bones setting section is here. This active index is currently 1, and the thing that did that was item number 2 here, which has a value of 1. Additionally, the TouchValueOption has an active indicator. The active indicator is responsible for turning this mesh here on and off. The mesh here is basically a copy of this gray mesh, but set to yellow so that you can see what the active tab looks like. The yellow mesh is brought forward by, no, not the yellow mesh, the gray mesh is brought backwards just a little bit so that it doesn't Z-fight with the yellow mesh. So when when body parts is not selected, the yellow mesh turns off and you can see the gray mesh underneath it. I actually came up with this strategy from the Neos UI camera, which is also a hint from Fruix, so thank you so much. The button on the side here, where you change the camera resolution, uses the exact same thing. So when you click 1K, it turns on this green circle mesh, which appears where the 1K button is. The only other thing to note is that you can change the text on these tab items, and everything will self-adjust due to the AxisAligner and a couple of logics nodes. I couldn't get away without logics this time, but a couple of logics nodes. So if I change this to body parts, I don't know, potato, you see that it's shifting around to make everything fit. This is driven by the bounding box driver. You get this for free, usually on a text node that you create with create node object. No, create new, all the way back, text, basic. You'll get a bounding box driver there. What we do with a little bit of logic is we split up the resultant bounding box of the box collider here into its X and Y parts, and we set those to the width and height on the BooleanSwitcher stripe mesh. That's a mouthful, that mesh name. So here you can see the width and height are set. This way we can make sure that the mesh changes in size in both the width and the height depending on the text value. There is also a padding value. The padding value is, where did I put the padding value? You can see it's working, so I know it's somewhere here. Null, so that shouldn't be there. Where did I put my padding value? I'm going to put it on the item. Can't find my padding value. I'm sure I had one. Yeah, because there's a plus here. Where is the... Oh, it's on the text. That doesn't make sense, but there we go. Value field 1 on text. Oh, I'm blind. It's late. Right there. This is what you get with behind the scenes video. Value field float here controls the padding around the text. That actually makes sense now why it's on the text. I'm just tired. So if I increase this value, oh dear, if I increase this value here, you'll see that we get a much bigger padding around the text item. Due to the AxisAligner, things are still lining up horizontally. If I tweak the AxisAligner a little tiny bit more, which we can do over here, tab system, tab bar, root, and then we set this to be element align mid to mid. That makes more sense here. So now the middle line of the BooleanSwitcher mesh is lining up with the rest of the thing here. So you could have an item that's bigger or smaller if you needed to have it. So that is the bit of magic that's controlling the mesh. There's also some magic going on which is controlling the actual touch value index itself. TouchValueOption, sorry. If you can see here, the value is being driven, and that's being driven by like a tiny piece of logic, which basically gets the index of child. So index of child gets the index of an item within a collection of items here. So this is the 0th item, the first item, and the second item. And then I just drive this value here. And the reason I do that is so that if I duplicate items, this just works. Everything just works. So this is the, I don't know, the 6th item here. And I click the 6th item. This is now trying to load the 6th page of my BooleanSwitcher, but I only have 3 pages, so it's not loading it. But I can easily here add another item. So if I add up to 6, we've got 3, so we'll do 4, 5, 6. Then I do set up for children objects here. 6, which actually means I need 7, 0 index base. There we go. Set up for children again. Okay, now it's all set up, so the 6th page is selected here. So now if I were to make a box, stick it here, and then, oh dear, there's a logics node there. Inspect this, drop the box into the 6th page. You'll see that it, let me deselect everything here. It disappears because it's now parented to that 6th page, and I set that page up in just a couple of seconds. So when the team produce amazing new features for avatars, I can come back in here and just make a new page. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do once the tab runs out of space, but we've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got at least 5 tabs going on here. Let me clean up just to show you how easy it is to clean up. So I don't need any of these tabs, so I'm going to just drag them into each other. And then delete. That's the tabs cleaned up, so now we're back down to 3 tabs. And then we want to clean up everything except 2, 3, 4, except the last 4 items. So I'm going to drag these into each other. Ignore the AxisAligner, it'll freak out just a little bit until the collection is valid, until you've got the right number of items here. So I will put a blank copy of this tab system, maybe with some shapes in these pages, so that you can take a look and try it out. If you're building UI, take a look around. Like, all of these components are super cool, especially when you use them together. I had no idea about TouchValueOption, and now I'm using it here to great effect. Let me just shrink down that mesh here, which is tab bar root item 1. And then I think this padding value is in the text. Set it to 0.1, I think. Yep, there we go. I could also value copy or drive the padding here from the root. So I could put a value copy here, which would mean I'll be able to edit the padding of all items, which I might actually do because I'm noticing that the right padding is a little bit lackluster here. So the left padding's okay, and that's just the alignment of the text properties. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at the tab system. I love this world. You know, I won the prize in the NCC for it, so I'm honoring that prize by continually keeping it up to date. I would hate for it to fall behind the wayside. One of the things I'll be doing tomorrow is updating these material frames. This is material frame 1, so this is the first material frame I built. I have in my inventory material frame 3, which is used in Build and Nanochi, but not here, so I need to go update them. That'll allow you to change the colors of all of these. Right now they're there, but they're not hooked up, and they also have the close and the pin that they shouldn't have. Also see this, where the if the aspect ratio of the image is different, then the overlay won't affect it. The overlay is there so you can change the color, because the overlay has this color field applied to it. So if I made this red, it won't apply it to the actual image, but it will apply it to the overlay. That was a random segue. Back to the tab system. I'll clean this up. You can find my public folder. Pull it apart. Hope it's useful for you. I really like it now. It used to be frustrating to add new tabs, and now with just a little bit of thought, I have made it super easy. Let me know if you'd like to see more of these. I just sometimes hit record and waffle on for a bit. It's a bit easier sometimes than making tutorials, but I like making those too. Bye-bye. Ooh, I forgot to hit stop recording. Bye-bye.